It's been said that life is a journey, not a destination. We're all on that journey, and we're all living a story. The story you're about to hear could change your life forever.
I've only lived in Omaha a year, and the concern came to me, oh my gosh, will Pastor Dodd even know me? I need to find somebody to do my funeral.
Surely you came to a place you went, Lord, this is not fair. Welcome. We're so glad you joined us tonight for another show of The Journey Up. I hope this has been more than your first time. We've been on just a couple of months, and we're just glad that you're here with us tonight. And you will be, let me use a great spiritual word, blessed. In fact, you're going to leave the show tonight happy. In fact, when I tell you the topic, you're going to think that happy doesn't connect with even our topic tonight. But if you've joined us tonight, I want you to know that we're going to be talking about tough times, how to walk through tough times, how to handle it when things are not going so well in your life. Whether it's with your family, whether it's with your friends, whether it's with your finances, whether it's with your health, regardless. Jesus said in John 16, in this world you will have trouble, tribulation. That's a promise. If you think you can get out of this life without having difficult issues to swim through, navigate around and through, well, you've got to be smoking something, because the reality is life is tough. It's not fair. In fact, let me encourage you. You can go to our website at thejourneyup.com, and there are a couple of messages that are featured on the website this week that could really help you and encourage you. One of them is Treading Tough Times. The other one is Bouncing Back, how to get back on top again once you have fallen. Well, I want to encourage you to do that. But don't go away. Don't leave your television set right now. Stay right online with us. But remember, you can always go to thejourneyup.com to get some helpful information and some resource. By the way, tonight's guest is Sue Stromberg. And I've got to tell you her story. No, Sue, I'm not going to tell them your story. I think that's really up for you to do. But I really connected with Sue when she came into my office and wanted to talk to me about her funeral. I've got to be honest with you. I haven't had too many people who were extremely happy who wanted to tell me about their funeral. And I got to be honest with you, it took me back, Sue, especially because, first of all, you're not dead yet.
Not yet.
And none of us are. However, you know, we're all terminal. But I want our audience to really have a chance to get to know who you are. And I also want you to be able to capture her attitude, because she's a wonderful example of how to maintain an attitude that honors God, that encourages her family and people who come in contact with when she's going through tough times. Well, Sue, I know that you're from a little bit further west than Omaha. You're from originally
Llewellyn, Nebraska.
Llewellyn. Now, where is that?
That's on the west end of Lake McConaughey.
Okay, so that's way on out there. Mm-hmm. Now, also I know that when we visited before, you had a stint at serving as a children's director, preschool director in your church in Kearney. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, what did you do there?
I was actually the assistant director of children's ministries, and my primary job was to recruit staff. But I also took care of the nursery and, of course, helped with Awana and all the programs that go with it, and loved working with children. So,
was it there in Kearney that you got a diagnosis from your doctor that rocked your world?
It was. I had actually quit my position at the church and taken another opportunity, and this was a couple of years after that, even though we still went to the church, and of course I still served in children's ministries. But I had just thought I was getting chubby. or had a hernia, and I went to my doctor to have it checked out because I absolutely couldn't wear any of my clothes. And I had tried cutting back on eating and exercising more, and nothing worked. And when my doctor first saw me and had me jump up on the table, she gasped. And I knew that probably wasn't a good sign. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "This is not chubby, this is fluid." And I said, "Oh, well, what causes that?" And she said, "Well, usually either your liver is failing or you have ovarian cancer." And I said, "Well, that sounds serious. What do we do?" And she said, "Well, we start down the road of trying to diagnose this." And she said, "Since you're not a drinker and you weren't an intravenous drug user, we don't think it's your liver, so we'll start down the road of testing for the ovarian cancer," which we did. And after about 2 weeks of tests, it said, "Well, maybe it could be that, but we're not sure. And maybe it could be that, but we're not sure." I was thinking, well, if I have this and I have 2 teenage boys, I need to get busy and get proactive. So I actually had a couple of names of some specialists here in Omaha. And I called a Dr. Peter Morris, and I told his nurse all the tests that I'd had. And she said, "Could you come down tomorrow and see the doctor?" And I said, "I can." So I came down, met with the doctor, did a head-to-toe exam, and he said, "Sue, I have to tell you that I've seen thousands of women with ovarian cancer, and I don't think that's what you have. But I'm not exactly sure what's wrong, so let's take some more blood work, do some more tests, and I'll see you in a couple days, and we'll just do an exploratory surgery and see what we find out."
Let me stop you there,
Okay.
Sue, and ask you a question. That between the time when you had exploratory surgery and the time that you had gone to your physician in Kearney to find out what was going on, what kind of time limit, time span?
I can remember the dates because it was actually my sister's birthday when I went to the doctor, and that was September 23rd. And the exploratory surgery took place on October 1st.
So it happened within just a couple of weeks.
It did.
But during those couple of weeks when you were without answers, I mean, what kind of stuff was going on in your mind?
I have to tell you that I was thankful so much for my family, friends, and my church because everybody just rallied around me and said, "Whatever we have to walk through, we're there with you." I have to tell you, I just kept getting bigger as time went on. This fluid just kept growing to the point, I really did look pregnant. And that made it difficult just to function on a day-to-day
Right.
basis, go to work, kind of act like everything's okay. I also became jaundiced, so my skin got yellow, the whites of my...
So all this was happening very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah, very quickly. And I never blamed God or was angry at God. I knew that, as my dad would say, I knew he was in the mix with me. So I never worried about that. My parents were awesome. My husband was phenomenal. So that part didn't ever scare me, but just the unknown was scary. What do I need to do? Do I need to have surgery? Do we need to start treatments?
Did you find your mind racing during that time?
I actually think I latched on to the ovarian cancer and started reading stuff about that and was thinking, okay, this is what I'm up against. So then when the doctor here didn't think I had that, that scared me because I thought, well, if not that, then what? How many options are there out there? So that scared me.
Well, then after you had your surgery, and the doctor came in to tell you what was going on, what did he say?
Well, as surgeons, they're so proud. He brings in little pictures and said, "Here's your ovaries, and they look great." And I said, "Well, then what's wrong?" And he said, "Your liver does not function at all."
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a shocking statement to find out one of your major organs is not functioning. And I know that would begin a journey
It did.
to tread all the way through tough times.
Yes.
Well, hold that thought.
Okay.
And you don't move from this station because you are going to be able to walk with us step by step through Sue's tough time, as well as she's going to be able to give you some great words of encouragement about how to handle your tough time. Stay tuned.
If you'd like a copy of today's program on DVD, go to our website, thejourneyup.com, or call 402-496-1453. Now back to Dr. Curt Dodd and The Journey Up.
Welcome back. Our guest tonight is Sue Stromberg, and she is sharing with us her journey through tough times. And by the way, if you have just joined us, let me encourage you to go to our website, thejourneyup.com. There are some great resources to encourage you how to handle your tough times. Well, back to Sue. Sue, your doctor came in and told you that your liver wasn't functioning. I mean, did he tell you completely shut off?
Mm-hmm.
No function at all?
No function at all.
So what was the next step?
Well, he was actually done because at that point, the knowledge that he had, this wasn't his specialty. So then I began to meet other doctors, specialists, and I didn't know how important your liver was. You always hear about your heart and lungs, and I really didn't know that your liver did so many vital things for your body. But I quickly began to learn. And so the next two specialists I had were a gastrointestinal specialist and a hematologist. Mm-hmm. And between the two of them, they tried some different treatments to sort of jumpstart my liver and see if they could get it back on track. And they tried that for almost a week. Until one morning, my sister from California had come here to be with me and my mom, and they were in the room with me, and the gastrointestinal doctor said, I met with the Gut Club last night, which are all these older gastrointestinal doctors that get together to talk about their difficult cases.
The Gut Club?
The Gut Club.
Like G-U-T?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, and you were our main topic. And wow, was I thrilled to find out I had been the topic at Gut Club. But he said, I spoke to a physician over at the Med Center, and we can't wait any longer to try and see if we can help you here. We need to ambulance you over there, and you need to be evaluated for a liver transplant. And I said, well, surely that's not my only option. And he looked at me and he said, Sue, that is your only option.
How long did they give you to live if that did not happen?
I think they gave me about 60 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess there was no discussion there. It's get thee to the hospital.
We did.
So
Took
what
my
happened?
first ambulance ride and away we went.
Yeah, so that was your first ambulance ride. Oh, man.
I got over there, and a Dr. Mukherjee was my first doctor, and he came in the room, and he was Indian, and I don't know if I can imitate him, but he said, Sue, you are one sick puppy. And I said, really? Because it was almost surreal at that point. Everything had happened so fast, and I knew I didn't feel good, but I just didn't realize I was that sick.
All right.
And so they have quite a rigorous set of things that you have to go through to be put on the transplant list. They evaluate, they make sure you have no cancer in your body. So they're ultrasounding and doing CAT scans and making sure of that. They test your lung capacity. They test your mental capacity to make sure that you're a stable enough individual to go through something like this and come out. And as horrible as it sounds, when they have so few organs, they want to make sure it's going to go somewhere to really benefit someone.
Now, did you get an organ?
I did.
Now, where did it come from?
All I know when they called me to tell me that it was on its way was that it came from Colorado. But I don't know anything about the person or what happened to them that caused them to pass away.
Now, how long from the moment that you had to have a liver to the moment you received a liver? How long?
I was sent over to the Med Center on October 6th. And I actually got the liver on November 8th.
So about almost 2 months from the time you first went to a doctor until you had a brand new organ, which is probably phenomenal in itself.
It was.
That's a miracle from God, because there are people probably who are watching who have had family members or friends who have been on an organ donor list for some time, or waiting for an organ donation and haven't received it in time. Why do you think you got that liver?
Well, I know prayer had a huge part to play in it. It's just amazing when you have friends and family and they tell someone and someone else tells someone, you begin getting cards from all over. I had people from New York to Pennsylvania to California praying for me and sending me cards, people I'd never even heard of. So I know that God was first and foremost the part of me getting that. But secondly, there's just some physical characteristics I have. For example, my blood type makes me a universal receiver, where there's some other folks, especially type B blood type, that it's very difficult for them to obtain an organ because the donor has to have type B blood type.
Right.
So there's some miraculous things, and then there's just some common sense
physical
things. Yeah.
that just need to happen. Well, let me ask you another question. Now you're into this process 2 months, and you have a new liver, and now you're praying, and everyone else is praying with you that there be no rejection, and that your life will get back to normal. So, what happens next? What do the doctors find out? What's the story?
The story is that the liver has always just worked phenomenal, but the reason that they discovered that I needed this liver is because I have a blood disease, and who knows how long I had it, and they could never pinpoint how I got it. Some people get it from chemicals or other exposures, but sometimes you just get it because you get it. And this blood disease cannot be cured. So even though I had the opportunity to get the transplant, I'm still left with the underlying condition. And unfortunately, the disease is myeloproliferative, which means it's always changing, always worsening. But they treat it as best they can, and I take a low-dose chemotherapy every day, and of course the anti-rejection drugs. I take a blood thinner to keep my blood thin.
This is every day?
Every day, because this disease causes me to make too much blood, too many platelets, and too many red blood cells, all of which cause the clotting, which is what happened. I got a clot between my heart and my liver, and that's what caused the liver to quit functioning.
Wow. So let me probe a little deeper and ask you a very sobering question. How long did the doctors give you?
They said if the treatment worked well, which it has so far, 10 years, unless there became a new treatment on the market. But they're not God, so we'll just see.
Right.
Right.
Now, how long has it been since you first heard, if everything goes well, I've got 10 years, I've got a decade? How long has that been?
It's been 6 years since I had my transplant.
And has there come recently some challenges right now? Some things are, here we're filming, and you find humor, and you even cause me to laugh, and your smile is contagious. And but if I'm not mistaken, when you came into my office before, you were kind of concerned that the time may be nearing.
It could be.
So what did you find out that caused you to get shaken a bit?
Well, just this year, probably in about February, I was laying on the couch and kind of had my arm resting there. And all of a sudden, I realized there was something hard in my abdomen. And as I felt it, I didn't know what it was for sure. So I went to the doctor. They did some more exploratory surgery, and they discovered that my spleen has enlarged considerably, and that's due to the disease I have. And so where most people's spleen is fist size, mine is now like dinner plate size. And there's really, unless it would get so painful I couldn't tolerate it, there's really nothing that they're going to be able to do for that. I've also had to have a phlebotomy recently where they take a unit of blood off because I have so much blood. And I haven't had to have that for a while, so that concerned me. And then I saw a liver specialist recently, and he wants to monitor me more closely. And that all of that just combined to say to me, okay, Sue, things are progressing maybe more rapidly than you thought. And I've only lived in Omaha a year. And the concern came to me, oh my gosh, will Pastor Dodd even know me? I need to find somebody to do my funeral. So in I came.
Funeral and laughter usually doesn't fit together. But when I met you, I felt like your attitude is that of unbelievable joy in the midst of great challenge. And when we return, we are going to talk to Sue about how to develop that attitude of great joy in the midst of treading tough times. Stay tuned.
If you'd like a copy of today's program on DVD, go to our website, thejourneyup.com, or call 402-496-1453. Now back to Dr. Curt Dodd and The Journey Up.
Welcome back to The Journey Up. We're so glad you've joined us tonight, and we're right almost at the end, but this is not the end. This is some of the greatest stuff you're going to ever hear. Sue Stromberg is my guest tonight, and she is a recipient of a liver. She had an unbelievable disease that just created, well, it destroyed her liver, and she received another one. And now 6 years into it, still treading tough times, she serves as a great example for us about how to focus in on the right things when you're going through things that you can't control. Mm-hmm. So, Sue, I know you've told me about your husband before and your boys, mm-hmm. and you had prayed to the Lord that He would at least allow you to live
until they graduated from high school.
Now, how old were they when you first found out?
My youngest was 13. My oldest was 16.
A time where the mom in someone's life is very, very important. Mm-hmm. Well, in fact, anytime in your life, your mom's important.
Pretty important.
And I know going through this struggle as a family has been difficult. How have they handled it? And how have you handled the way they have handled it?
When I was sick and when we didn't know what the outcome would be, I remember one time when they came to visit, and I asked each of them to take a walk with me in the hallway at the hospital. And I walked with each one of them separately, and I said, you know, if I die, I don't want you to be angry at God. This is just part of living in a sinful world, and stuff happens. This isn't God's fault, so please don't be angry at God. Now, I know when you're a teenager, you might still be angry, but I wanted them to hear from me that I wasn't angry and that life goes on and you just sometimes have to make the best of it.
Hold a second. For you to be able to say that to your boys, I don't want you to be angry at God because of how things are going in my life. Mm-hmm. Were you ever angry at God?
I wasn't.
Now hold a second for a second. I'm thinking about that, and I'm going, surely you came to a place you went, Lord, this is not fair.
I didn't.
Really?
I did not. I actually, you know, I remember Charles Colson talking about what an awesome experience it was to be in prison because God was all he had. Mm-hmm. And that is how I felt. I missed my family and I missed my friends, but my fellowship with the Lord during that time, I wouldn't trade that for anything. It was just so precious. And I remember when I would hurt or something would be painful, I would really latch on to the fact that what Christ did for me on the cross was so much greater than anything I could be going through. And everybody that had to do something invasive on my body, I always asked them if I could pray first. And I didn't care what religion they were. I just wanted to pray with them. And the doctors began to know that you don't glove up and start your procedure on Sue until after you've held her hand and she's prayed, because that's just what I did. It made me feel better. I don't know if it did anything for them, but it made me feel better, and I just always prayed that God would guide their hands and guide whatever it was they had to do before they started. So I never really got angry.
Really?
Never.
You are an amazing person, and because I know there are a lot of people who feel like life owes them something, that God owes them something, and when they don't receive it, they get very angry at God or try to find a theology that they can name it and claim it, mm-hmm. instead of walking all the way through it. And I'm listening to you going, boy, God must have given you unbelievable grace to walk through that season. And if I'm not mistaken, what I'm hearing from you is that in the midst of any fear or any anxiety, that you pressed in your relationship with the Lord.
I did.
What else would you tell the people out there tonight that are maybe wondering how to handle what they're going through? Because I know that there are some who are watching tonight who are going through marital difficulties. There's some going through financial difficulties. Their tough time may not be just physical. Mm-hmm. Can you help us grab hold of how to maintain such a positive, loving, full of joy attitude in the midst of going through a difficult time?
Well, first and foremost, you just have to believe that God has allowed this to enter your life for some reason. And you have to believe that when you come out, you'll be stronger because He's allowed you to walk through this. And then just knowing that, you just have to relax and just, it's like a marathon. You just have to keep running the race and depending on Him to get you through it. Because knowing that, you'll come out better on the other side.
Well, if you've been watching tonight, I know you've been encouraged by listening to Sue's story. And I don't know what you're walking through, but there are people who would love to connect with you, at least in prayer. There's a number on the screen, and I would love to encourage you to call us and leave your prayer request on that message. They want to intercede for you. We don't even have to know your name. Just call us and let us know how we can pray for you. And then another thing, if you don't know Jesus as Lord of your life, go to our website. There are some links to help point you how to know Him. And if you need a church where you can receive encouragement like Sue received, there is a link for life-giving churches on that website, thejourneyup.com. Or if you just like to call us and find out someplace where you can go based upon where you live, please feel free to call us. We want to be here to encourage you. Well, let me remind you one more time. Our website, thejourneyup.com, has some great resources that you've just heard about that can help encourage you. The two messages again, Treading Tough Times and Bouncing Back. You can order them online or just call us and let us know you'd like to order those. Well, until next time, regardless of what you're walking through, whether it's good times, tough times, in between times, choose joy and choose to take the journey up.